Welcome! Great to have you on board of this course. In this course you will learn all you need to create your own projects in Tableau Desktop. The course starts at the very basics. This means no prior knowledge, neither related to Tableau Desktop nor to data analysis or visualization, is required. We will start with the first step of a typical data analysis project workflow, the data preparation. This means we will connect Tableau Desktop to different source files, CSV files, Excel files, normal text files, and then work on the columns and rows of these different files. The goal, of course, is to create a data set. This means we will align the differently structured data in these data sources in one single table in the end. And with that data set, we will then continue with the next step in our Tableau Desktop workflow, the data analysis and visualization. This is the actual part where Tableau really shines, but we will not only learn how to create easy-to-build drag-and-drop visualizations, we will dive deeper here. We will dive into all core concepts and all core features Tableau Desktop has to offer. This means we will dive into dimensions and measures, we'll dive into table calculations, level of detail calculations, sets, parameters, bins, and a lot more. At the end of this module, we finish the core part of this course. We now know all the core concepts and we created our visuals. In the last module of this course, we will conclude the course therefore with dashboards and stories, because dashboards and stories allow us to present our visuals in a well-structured and user-oriented way. So this is what we will cover throughout this course. But who am I? My name is Manuel Lorenz, and together with Maximilian Schwarzmüller, one of the highest rated and largest instructors here on Udemy, we are Academind. On Academind we offer courses on web development and data analysis, data science, and after our best-selling Power BI course, another data analysis tool, I thought that it's now the perfect timing to release a course on Tableau Desktop, the market-leading tool in the area of business intelligence and data analysis. So this is it. This was the introduction of the course. As you can see, lots of topics to cover. Really looking forward to this. So let's dive into Tableau Desktop together now. Let's get started with the answer to the probably most important question. What is Tableau actually? On the official website, you can find this sentence right here. Tableau is changing the way you think about data. That's a nice marketing sentence, but it contains one important word. Data, because in the end, Tableau is all about data, or specifically data analysis and business intelligence. One important word though, Tableau is not a single tool. Tableau actually is a tool set, so Tableau comes with different tools for different purposes, but all these tools are connected of course, because in the end, it's all about data analysis. But there is one core tool, you could say, comprising all the main data analysis capabilities a data analyst is expecting. And this tool is called Tableau Desktop. And no surprise at this point, in this course, we will get started with exactly this tool. Now this brings us to the question what Tableau Desktop actually is. And you can actually summarize Tableau Desktop with two single points. Tableau Desktop is all about data analysis and data visualization. So it basically combines these two items. This means that Tableau Desktop is a user-oriented data analysis tool, a so-called business intelligence tool. Tableau Desktop and also other tools which have a similar purpose, Power BI for example, just a side note, have specific core components, you could say, to make sure this data analysis and visualization works in a, well, smart and meaningful order. Therefore, we can divide the Tableau Desktop functionalities into three core steps. The first step is connect and prepare. What does this mean? Well, it simply means that for any kind of data analysis project we have, we need source files. Source data we retrieve from a financial reporting system, for example. The thing is that this data is, well, coming out of this system in a default structure, and this structure is not necessarily the structure we need for our analysis. Additionally, we might have data coming from different sources. For example, we could get data for our revenues from one system and another system provides our cost data. And then we might want to combine this data from two different sources and in different structures, and therefore we have to prepare this data. This means we, for example, have to change the data format, we have to change the columns, we have to exclude certain rows, Topics like that. So in simple words, we have to create our own data set based on our data sources. And that's exactly what we can do in this first step here in our Tableau desktop feature set, you could say. We can connect it to source files, work on these source files, and therefore create our own data set. With this data set being finished, we can continue with the second point. The second point is the actual data analysis and visualization. Because now we have data we can work with, now we have data we can dive deeper into. This means we could, for example, find out why our revenue might have declined. This means we can dive into our data for different products, for different regions, to really understand what is driving our business or what is harming our business at the moment. And while the sheer analysis by calculating averages, for example, or maximum or minimum values is nice, the better way to really present these data is of course not a single table, though this is also possible, but a nice visualization. Tableau ships with a lot of visualizations, of course, line charts, bar charts, tree maps, anything you can imagine basically, and this is exactly what can be done in this second step. So data analysis and visualization. There is a third step though, and this third step is the creation of dashboards and stories, because presenting a single or multiple unconnected visuals is not the most beautiful way if you report this information to your executive, for example. Therefore, a dashboard allows us to create a single overview page, you could say, combining all your core visuals and therefore allowing your executive, for example, to get a quick overview of the core information that is required. You can even improve that process in Tableau though. You can create so-called stories. Stories allow you to, well, as the name indicates already, to tell your story by aligning different visuals step by step. So you could start, for example, with one page presenting your revenue development. Then you can continue with the second page, providing insights into your cost development. And in the end, you have a final page of your story where you talk about the actual impact onto the profit. Just an example for that, we'll of course have a look at how this works and how we can create such dashboards and stories throughout the course. And this is Tableau Desktop in a nutshell. So it's a really easy to use and very powerful and user-oriented data analysis and visualization tool, a BI tool in the end. With that, we are almost ready to get started with the actual installation and with our first course project. Before we do that, let's have a look at the course approach though and at the actual system requirements to be sure we can work with Tableau Desktop. It's important to understand the course approach because if you Google Tableau Desktop, you might find Tableau Desktop and Tableau Public. Now, what's the difference between these two and which one are we using? Well, generally, both tools are kind of similar. In the end, the main difference is that Tableau Desktop is a paid tool, so you need a monthly subscription to be allowed to use Tableau Desktop, but the pricing is not very important for us because Tableau Public, that's a great thing, is for free. You don't have to pay to use Tableau Public, so in the end, you can say that Tableau Public is the free version of Tableau Desktop, shipping with all its core features. This sounds awesome though, so why would anybody pay for Tableau Desktop if I can have the same features for free? Well, we will dive into the details regarding the differences also in the next module of this course, but the most important difference I want to highlight right here is that when it comes to storing data, saving data in Tableau Public is only possible online on the official Tableau servers, and it's a really public storage. This means everybody can access this public data. So storing data we use for this course project, which is not any kind of sensitive data, not a problem at all. But don't use Tableau Public if you use any kind of internal or private data. That's very important. That's why I want to highlight this at this stage of the course. Besides that, we don't have any really important differences when it comes to learning Tableau. Therefore, this package we have right here, so learning Tableau Desktop with Tableau Public, is a really nice approach as it allows you to dive into this tool without any upfront cost. And to really emphasize this, Tableau Public and Tableau Desktop share the same user interface and the same core features. Tableau Public has some additional features. We'll have a look at these in the next module of this course, but everything you learn in this course can be applied to Tableau Desktop. I really want to make this clear because for you this means whatever you learn in this course can be applied to your Tableau Desktop projects too. With that, we know that we want to use Tableau Desktop in its free public version, but what kind of hardware and software do I need? Well, generally Tableau Public or Desktop, I'll use both terms interchangeably from now on in this course. So generally the tool is available for both Windows and Mac OS. For Windows, it's important that you have Windows 7 or newer and a 64-bit operating system. For 32-bit systems, Tableau Desktop is unfortunately not supported. It is what it is here. As you can see, it's also available for Windows Server though. For macOS, we have these operating system requirements. And if you want to find out more about the hardware you need to work with Tableau, so which processor, which memory, and so on, check out this link right here. Here you will find all the required information regarding the minimum or the optimal requirements to be able to work with Tableau Desktop. With that, we have a first overview of what Tableau Desktop is and what we need to get started. Therefore, it's now time to dive into the actual installation of Tableau Desktop, and we will also create our first project already. Let's dive right into Tableau Public now. For that, we have to download and install it first. To do so, just Google for Tableau Public up here and then select this link. There you can see that you only have to enter your email address and press download the app right here. With that, the download should start automatically. If it doesn't work, you can press try again right here. With that, the download should be initialized. Then we only have to wait until the download is finished. And after that, simply double click onto this exe file right here. We accept the terms of the license agreement. I don't want to improve the product, so you can tick this if you want to. I don't want to. Then you hit install. And after a few seconds, the installation process finished and Tableau Desktop should start automatically. And with that, we are now ready to start our project already. In case you're using a Mac, the general process is the same. So just Google for Tableau Public, go to the starting page, enter your email and download Tableau Public right here. In case the download doesn't start, press try again right here. Then you should see that the automatic download started. And once the download is completed, you can find this DMG file here in your download folder. Just double click onto this file. Now this can take a few seconds. And after that, you should see this pop up right here. The only thing you have to do now is to again double click this symbol. Now it again takes a few seconds. And now you can start the installation of Tableau Public. Here we can click continue. Here we can also continue. That's just the license agreement that we have to accept. Yes, we agree. We want to use Tableau. And here you can change the install location. I will use the default one. So let's press install right here. Now the installation starts. Again, this can take a few seconds. The installation was successful. So let's close that window now. And right here then in your applications folder, you should find Tableau Public. And the only thing you have to do right now is double click it. And with that, we started Tableau Desktop for the first time. The installation for Windows or Mac is therefore completed. So let's continue now, in my case, on the Windows machine. Now, one important note before we continue. This is just the introduction project. So I'm totally aware of the fact that most of the steps we apply right here are probably totally new to you. The purpose of this project, though, is to give you a first general idea of a potential project workflow in Tableau. Therefore, if you don't understand each single step by heart at this point of the course, don't worry. That's not a problem at all. We'll of course dive into all the features covered in this project and also into many more features throughout the course. So for the moment, just follow me along and get an idea of the easy to use and intuitive interface Tableau offers. With that, let's get started with this project, and for that we of course need some source data. Before we do that though, I want you to press the Windows key if you're using a Windows machine, or on the Mac, Command and space. Then search for Tableau repository, like that. There you should find your own Tableau repository. This is German here. This is basically this Tableau repository I'm referring to. You should find the same thing on the Mac. You can also find the path of this repository right here. Select this repository, and in there you can find different default folders. This is your own, default Tableau repository where you can store all the required information, all the required data that you might want to use in Tableau. The important folder for us is this one. This is the data source folder. Open this one, and this is the folder where we will store all our data sources used throughout the course. You don't have to use the Tableau repository. You can also store the data in other folders if you want to, but I highly recommend it as it helps us to keep our data structured. As we now found our repository, it's now time to download the source file for this initial project. You can find the file attached to this lecture. So download the zip file, unzip it, and then paste the CSV file you can find in the zip file into this folder. So this cumulative CO2 emissions.csv file. Now we can switch back to Tableau and select text file here because this is our connect area. So here we can select which data source type we want to connect Tableau to. So we press text file. Now we can navigate to our own repository, to this data source folder, select the CSV file and press open. And now we already established the connection to the source file. We can hide this window right here. And as I said, we will dive into all the details of this interface right here throughout the course. For the moment, it's just important for you to know that you can see a preview of the data stored in your source file down here. If you double click, you can see we can enhance the column width to see which information our columns contain. One important thing, in case the data is displayed differently on your machine, make sure to go to this cumulative CO2 emissions.csv field right here, click onto it, and now select text file properties. In this menu, you can find the field separator, the text qualifier, the character set, and the locale. Make sure that these settings are equal on your machine, so comma, auto, UTF-8, and English United States. You can apply different settings here, but for the purpose of this course, so for this project and also all following projects, make sure that the settings are applied like this. If this is not the case, you can change these by simply selecting a different option here. If it's okay, just hit the X, and with that you can close that menu. So with that, we are ready to go. We are now ready to prepare this data so we can see if this data is, structured in the way we need it in our later visualizations. And then, of course, also start creating our first visualizations. This is what we will do in the next lecture. Now, as I said, we can see a preview of the data stored in our source file. Very important, we can't change our source file, of course. We can just work on the data that we now basically stored here in Tableau. This means we can, for example, say that we are not happy with our column name right here. This column here is named entity. Columns are also referred to as fields in Tableau. And if you double click onto this name, you can, for example, change it to country. If you hit enter, you see the name is changed. If we look at our second column right here, we could also say that we don't need that code. We have our actual country name right here, we have the year and the CO2 emissions. Therefore, this code column is not required. So if you simply select it and then right click, you can find this hide option. Selecting it will simply make the column disappear from our data. And with that, we already did our second data preparation step. So this is what we could do regarding our columns here. So we renamed our column names and we excluded a column already. What we can also do is regarding the columns is we could change the format of the data these columns contain. The data inside the columns, so these different rows we have, are referred to as so-called members in Tableau. And regarding the members of this first column, the countries, I think the current formatting is okay. What is the current formatting? Well, you can see it right here with the symbol. If you click onto this ABC, you can see that we have the string selected as the current format type. Very important. We can see that our column actually contains country-specific data, so actual geographic data. Therefore, the string might not be the entirely correct categorization of this column, as we have country data and as we can also create maps in Tableau. We might have to add the information that this is, country data and not only a simple string, but this is all covered throughout the course. For the moment, we'll just keep the string, so normal text as the formatting here. The second column here, if we click onto this hashtag, is formatted as a number, a whole number. That's not entirely correct because the year is actually a date, so let's change it. As you can now see, we get a default date, so a default day and a default month for all our members in that column. As we only have annual data, this is not a required information. We don't worry about the formatting too much at this stage, therefore that's okay for the moment. And our last field right here, if we check it, is formatted as a whole number. This is totally correct, so we have our CO2 emissions in tons formatted as a whole number. So with that, the columns look fine already. Now I want to make sure that our rows also contain cleaned and perfectly usable data. For that, we can either scroll through the rows to check each single row. Might take a while. We can also change the sorting of our rows here. For that, we can go to a column where we want to change the sorting, for example here, and now select this symbol. The default sorting is the sorting according to the actual data source. If you hit it once, you see not a lot of changes here because we now change the order from the data source order to ascending. And in case of our source file, we have string data here and the data in the source file is ordered from A to Z alphabetically. So we have an ascending order already, therefore no changes here. If I press it again, you see we have a descending order, so from Z to A. The problem is that our countries apparently end at B, not at Z. The reason for that is that we only see a data preview here. But if we go to the right here, this area, we can increase the amount of rows that should be displayed, for example, to, let's say, 100,000. Hitting enter will give us 15,232 rows. Well, this is the amount of data our source file contains. And with that, we see that now we end at Zimbabwe. We can change it back to ascending though, like this. Still, I'm not sure if our countries are all named correctly. For that, I can now, scroll through all our rows as we now display all the rows and check if all data is correct. Or I simply select our country column, right-click it, and now select aliases. Aliases simply allow us to rename members of our column. And if you have a quick look, you see all the members we have in that column without any duplicates. So you see we have Afghanistan for many years. We only see Afghanistan once right here. And if I have a look at the data, you can see that here, GER, this should actually be Germany. To be in line with the other naming conventions, it might make sense to simply change it. So we can simply click right here to this value area and now enter Germany, like that. Hitting OK updates our information. And if I now scroll down until G, let's see. Yeah, here we are, a little bit up. Here we have now Germany, so we were easily able to replace the value stored in that member with a so-called alias. And this means that we finished our data preparation, the data is formatted fine and it is cleaned and we have the right amount of columns. Therefore, we can now jump ahead and create our first visualization. To create a visual, we have to leave our data source tab, this tab down here, and change to sheet 1. This is a so-called worksheet, and this is the area where we will create our visualizations. Now I have to repeat this. I will not dive into a lot of details regarding the features at this stage of the course. So as I said, just follow along to see how easy we can now create the visual here. The important thing is that we have some dimensions here and some measures. Dimensions and measures are simply our categorized columns we have from the previous data source tab. We have country and year right here, and we have the CO2 emissions right here down as a measure, and we have this automatically created columns, measure names, measure values, number of records, all covered later throughout the course, not important at the moment. But we could say that we actually want to display our CO2 emissions now for different years. What we can do now is we can simply select our year field like this, and you can see the orange highlighted areas already, so this means we can drag and drop the data. You can see I can move the field. So let's say I move this field up here to our columns. Let's see what happens. Yeah, we have some kind of data in here, so we have some years, but what's missing, of course, is the actual underlying CO2 emission data, so the actual database for our visual. We can, of course, simply select now our CO2 emissions down there, and now let's say we drag and drop it to our rows area, like this. Yeah, and as you can see, with that, we easily created this line chart just by dragging and dropping these two fields to this column and row area right here. If you click on to show me, you can hide this pop-up. That's a nice first step. However, I don't think our line chart looks very spectacular. If you hover over it, you can see we have the CO2 emissions for the different years. But actually, I would like to have a bit more data in this chart. I would like to have the CO2 emissions for our different countries actually. For that, I can simply select our country field, this right here, and now drag and drop it to this marks area and specifically to this color field, because this will apply a different color to each single country we have in our data. Let's drag and drop it right here. You see a quick warning that we shouldn't add more than actually 20 members here. Our data contains 250 countries, so actually more than it should be, but for the purpose of this example project, we can simply select add all members here. Yeah, and as you can see, it probably is too much data for it. We can see that the CO2 emissions of the United States are, well, the highest, obviously, but for the other countries, yeah, I think we have just too many data in here. So the next thing we could apply is actually a filter. Let's say to only have the top 5 countries according to their CO2 emissions for this entire range right here. Well, we can of course also do this. We simply can drag and drop the country field into this filters area. Now, in case the drag and drop feature is not working, this is a bug that unfortunately occurs from time to time, you can simply select the field here and click on this arrow. Now press Show Filter. This will add our country field to this filters area. And now click onto the country field again, this position, and press Edit Filter. This now is the same menu that we would get if we would directly drag and drop the country field to the filters. Now we have different filter types available, also covered in detail throughout this course. I would like to have the top 5 countries only, therefore we can select this top filter. We want to filter the data by a specific field. It should be the top 5, not the top 10, like this, by the cumulative CO2 emissions. That's actually what we need right here. Sum simply means that we take the cumulative values for all our years per country. Hitting OK now will decrease our country count to 5 only. You can see United States, United Kingdom, Germany, Russia, and China. With that, we have the content of our chart, but I'm not sure if this is the right chart type that I would like to have here. For that, let's maybe go to this Show Me area once again, click it. And as you can see, you can select different chart types here. I'm not a big fan of this line chart, I must say. It's not the most impressive one. Why don't we change it to such an area chart right here? This one. Yeah, I think now this looks much better. A bit of a more impressive chart type, I would say. There is only one last type that I would like to add, because at the moment I can only see the country if I hover over the corresponding area of the chart. But I would like to add a so-called label. A label would display the name of the corresponding country already inside the chart here. For that, we can use the same approach we had before. We simply go to our dimensions area in this case, select the country field, and now drag and drop it as a so-called label, like this. If we do this, we can see the label here inside our chart. And with that, we finished our first project already. As you can see, this was quite easy. We only had to drag and drop around our fields in the end to make sure we kind of tailor our chart and the data displayed. There are lots of things to be discovered, of course. For example, why do we have a blue field here and a green field right there? But this is, of course, also covered throughout the course. But for the moment, this is our first example project finished. There is only one last thing we could do though, because if you finish the project, you might want to save it. To do that, we can simply go right here to this save symbol, click it once. And now we have the point that I mentioned in the last lecture. As we are using Tableau Public, all our data can only be stored publicly on the Tableau servers. I have to mention that again. The data you store in the server is publicly accessible by anybody, so don't add any kind of sensitive information here. We added our email already to download Tableau Public, but if you don't have an account yet, you also have to create an entire account, which gives you the option to access your profile on the Tableau Public servers. Therefore, if you don't have such an account, just click onto create one now for free right here. So make sure to enter your name, your email, and your password. Tick this box right here to accept the terms of service, and then click create my profile right here. Now your profile was created, and with that you can give your first workbook a name. Let's maybe call it my first workbook. CO2 emissions. You can name it wherever you want. Just keep in mind that everybody can read the name you apply right here. Now press save. Then your workbook will be published to Tableau Public. Might take a few seconds depending on your internet connection. Then the Tableau public page will open automatically. Yeah, we got it, that we published the data. And here we can see your data now stored on the Tableau servers. If you go back to your profile right here, then you can see this workbook also here in your profile. As I said, anybody can access that. You can also download or delete the workbook, but we'll cover this part, so how to download workbooks and how to use them on your machine or on other machines in the next module. But the important thing is that we now finished our first Tableau public project. So as you saw, working with Tableau Desktop is really easy. It's a really user-oriented tool and it's a lot of fun to work with it. Nevertheless, there are of course lots of different features to dive into and to learn. So what is actually covered in this course now? We are almost done with getting started. As you see, this module is all about the first steps in Tableau Desktop. We finished the installation process already and our first project too. And now it's time to give you some additional course information, so this outline, and we'll also see how you can get the most out of this course in the next lecture. After that, in the second module, we'll have a closer look at the Tableau platform. As I said, Tableau Desktop is part of the Tableau platform, so an entire tool set, you could say. Therefore, I want to make sure that you are aware of this platform, of this tool set in general, and that you also understand where Tableau is positioned within this tool set. Besides that, I also want to dive deeper into Tableau Desktop, so I want to show you the differences between the public version and the paid version in a bit more detail. I also want to show you how the versioning of Tableau Desktop changed, because Tableau Desktop is a very well-maintained tool, so you get regular updates, and this update flow changed a bit, so I want to make sure that you also understand this. And we'll also have a look at some important information regarding the course project, for example, how to save your projects or how to use the attached project files. After this module, we'll be very well equipped to finally dive into our actual course project. This is how we'll continue, and as we learned already, the first step then will be to really dive deep into the data preparation part of Tableau. This means we'll learn how to connect Tableau to source files. We'll focus on to CSV, Excel, and text files in this course. We'll learn how we can connect Tableau to different source files, how we can combine these different source files to a new table that we can create. We'll learn how we can structure our data and how we can clean that data. I mentioned it already. This can include things like excluding certain rows from our data. We can also do simple tasks like renaming columns, but we can also create new columns, new so-called fields, which, for example, are a combination of two existing columns. These are, of course, just some examples. We have lots of different features to explore right here. Therefore, really looking forward to this module already. At the end of this module, we'll have created our own data set, and this brings us to the next module right here, module 4, and this module is all about the data analysis and visualization. This means we will have a look at performing calculations. Simple calculations would be calculating averages or sums, for example, of specific data, of a revenue, for example. Besides that, we will learn how we can create interesting data insights and visuals, because Tableau comes with a lot of different visuals and with a really nice drag and drop interface. And the cool thing is that although the actual interface looks quite lean, it comes with a lot of awesome features to really create wonderful and also interactive visualizations. So we will learn how we can add this interactivity to our visualizations, how we can, for example, easily dive deeper into a single visual by starting with data for different regions, Europe and Asia, for example, but then with one single click within the same visual, we are able to look at our data from a country level. That's just one example, of course. As I said, lots of ground to cover there. After this module, we finished all the core functions, all the core concepts of Tableau. But at this point, we'll only have single and kind of unrelated visuals. Time to change that, and we'll do that in the 5th module, Dashboards and Stories. Dashboards and Stories allow you to bring more structure to our actual visuals, because a dashboard allows us to create an overview page of all our single visuals, which allow our manager, for example, to quickly understand the core development of the business within the last months or years or any kind of period you might want to present. The story then is the next step after the dashboard. It allows you to really separate different visuals and to really think about a way to bring your data to life in a way that you tell what happened to your business, for example, step by step. I mentioned that revenue, cost, and profit example earlier already. This was just one approach though. The general idea is for this module, how can we transport the information our data contains, our visuals contain, in an easily accessible way? That's basically the core idea of this 5th module. With that, we will be almost done with the course. So at this stage, you will know all the core features of Tableau Desktop. So this means we will then conclude the course in the 6th module, our wrap up and next steps module. Here it's all about how to continue, and well, I'll also give you a quick course summary, of course, to show you again what you learned throughout this journey. One important note though, if you know Tableau already, or if you have an idea of business intelligence in general already, you might want to jump into the course at 2 specific stages. One stage could be right here at the data preparation module. This module is all about the actual data in its raw form. This means if you want to find out if Tableau is the tool for you and your team, for example, to be able to prepare data and to clean data, because Tableau has great capabilities right here, but there are also tools in the Tableau universe which might be more appropriate depending on what you want to achieve. I'm referring to Tableau Prep right here. We'll talk about that in the next module. So if you want to find out if Tableau is the right tool for you, or if you just want to learn what you can do in this data preparation step, then this is a good point of entry. Or if you just want to learn how you can create awesome visuals in Tableau and how to present these in a nice structure, module 4 and 5 might be the ones you're interested in. Nevertheless, I highly recommend to follow along the entire course from start to finish, because you can dive into these modules if you want to, but you will have the best course experience if you really follow along the entire course. With that, we are almost done with getting started. There is one important topic left though, because for me, it's very important that you enjoy this course and that you get a lot out of it. So how do you get the most out of this course? Well, the first part is the most obvious one. Watch the videos. As I said in the last lecture, you can dive into selected modules if you want to, but generally I recommend to watch the entire course, to watch the entire videos, and to follow along. Very important here, watch the videos at your speed. You can change the playback speed in the video player. I do my best to speak at a pace which fits most students, but if it's too fast or if it's too slow for you, change the speed in the video player and pause and rewind. If you didn't understand a concept completely, have a look at it again. It's normal that you don't understand everything immediately. I do my best to present the information, of course, in a way that you only have to watch it once, but there are some topics which are easier to grasp for one student and harder to grasp for the other one. Therefore, take the chance, use the features of the video player and watch the lectures again. It will only be beneficial for you. Besides that, and equally important, work along. What do I mean by that? Don't just watch the videos. The entire course is created in an interactive way. So follow along my steps, create the project on your own. Also feel free to play around a bit, but don't forget to come back to the path that I show in the videos, because watching videos is one thing, but really working with the tool on your own is the most important step to really learn how to work with this tool and to understand it. This brings me also back to my initial point regarding the speed adjustment and the pausing and rewinding. If you follow along, and it might take you a bit longer than me to write a certain formula, for example, hit the pause button, finish the formula, and then continue, because in the end, you should enjoy the course and you shouldn't be in a hurry. The next point also builds up on this working along point. Use the course resources. Attached to multiple lectures and to the last lecture of each module, you can find my project and the corresponding source data. So use these resources, download these, and of course, connect Tableau to the source files as I do show it in the lectures, because otherwise you can't follow along. But also use my source files in case you're stuck and in case you can't continue, because it's very easy to miss a step or to do something in a different way. That's also a good thing, as I said, because you can play around. But to follow along the course, it's important to follow my structure, because of course the whole project was built with a certain final product in mind. Therefore, we have to follow these steps. So in case you kind of lost your way, download my resource, and check where my project and your project differ. Besides these attached projects, you can also find links in some lectures. These are links which allow you to dive deeper into the official docs, for example, or generally into further resources which allow you to dive deeper if you want to. In case you use the attached projects and you just can't find out why you can't continue, so you're stuck basically, then of course feel free to ask in the Q&A section. I do my best to provide a fast support there and to make sure you can continue with the course. There is one thing I want to mention though. As I said, I do provide any course-related support related to this course project. What I can't provide though is support on own implementations or personal projects. That's not part of the course package right here, but this doesn't mean that you can't ask these questions, because you don't only have me. You also have your other students, and the greatest thing you can do is help others in the Q&A. Because if anybody asks course-related questions or also a question related to an own project, then the best thing to practice your knowledge is to try to help others with the problems they might experience. And there is no right or wrong there. In case you try to help and your answer, well, is not a totally correct one, it doesn't matter. What do you do? You might get corrected, and with that, you and the person who initially asked the question both learn something new, and in the end, that's the core goal of this course. So with that, you can ask both course-related and also other questions, but I have to mention that again, the course support from my side refers to this course and this project. So with these basics finished, it's now time to dive deeper into the Tableau platform. This is what we will cover in the next module. Welcome to this module. We finished the basics already. Now it's time to dive deeper into the Tableau world, specifically into the Tableau platform. Because as I said, we will focus on Tableau Desktop in the public version in this course. Nevertheless, I also want to make sure that you got a general idea of the entire Tableau environment we are working in here. So what's in this section? Well, first, we'll have a look at the Tableau platform in a bit more detail. We will see where Tableau Desktop is located in this platform and what other tools might be of potential interest for you after finishing this course. Besides that, we'll have a look at the difference between Tableau Public and Tableau Desktop again. We had a first look at that already and saw that the core difference is the pricing and some limited features Tableau Public has when comparing it to Tableau Desktop. Nevertheless, I want to dive a bit deeper here to give you a better overview of some additional differences we have right here. We'll also have a look at the Tableau versioning. Tableau is a very well-maintained tool. This means you get constant updates. And in 2018, the versioning, so the version each newly updated Tableau version gets, changed. I want to have a quick look at this change in the versioning and also at the difference between a release version and a maintenance version of Tableau. Then we'll move on towards our actual course project already. For that, we'll have a look at saving projects once again. We learned this already in our introduction project. There is one specific bug only occurring in Tableau Public, unfortunately. I want to show you how you can avoid this bug, and I also want to show you how to use the attached project files, because you can find my project attached to different lectures throughout the course. So if you're stuck, make sure to download these, and to be able to use these, there are some things you have to take care of. This is what I will show you in this part of this module. And finally, we'll have a quick look at the recommended settings in Tableau to make sure you can follow along this course conveniently. That's it. With that, let's get started. So what is the Tableau platform? Well, we know that we have two core components we saw already: the data preparation and the data analysis and visualization, also including dashboards and stories here. For that, we can say that our core tool that covers these important areas is Tableau Desktop. We will have a dedicated look at the Tableau workflow in the next module though, but I think you got an idea of how Tableau Desktop works in general already throughout this course. Therefore, these two areas are very well covered here. Nevertheless, after finishing this course, you could also say that you might want to dig a bit deeper here into specific areas. For that, you can have a look at some more advanced tools here. Generally, Tableau Desktop also can be enough for advanced tasks. This is an introduction course in the end, a beginner's course, but As you will see throughout the course, we have lots of powerful features available. So also for an advanced user, this can be already quite helpful. But you will also see that when it comes to preparing data, Tableau has some limitations in the end. So in case you need more power when it comes to preparing data, to cleaning data, to combining multiple tables, so all these topics we have to take care of before our actual analysis, then Tableau Prep might be the product of your interest here. Tableau Prep allows you to access advanced data preparation features, as I said, for example, to combine tables, to establish more complex connections between different tables, things like that. So it goes into the ETL. ETL stands for extract, transform, and load. So for the process of safely accessing data from multiple sources and combining these to one single data set. So basically what we do with Tableau Desktop, but here in a more advanced way. For tasks like that, Tableau Prep might be worth a look, but as I said, to get started, Tableau Desktop is totally sufficient. Besides that, you also might want to share the results that we obtained in this course. And as you saw, we can store the data to the Tableau cloud in Tableau Public, but with that, well, the data is basically available for anybody. So in case you want to have more advanced sharing features, you also have tools available in the Tableau platform. These tools are Tableau Online and Tableau Server. Both have the same purpose. Both allow you to share Tableau visuals, so visuals you created in Tableau Desktop, for example, online, but this time in a more private way, so only selected users with specific rights can access that data. And in the case of Tableau Online, this data is stored on Tableau servers, but not as for Tableau Public on public servers, but private servers. Or if you use Tableau Server, you can even store the data on your own server. So this is the first option if you want to share your results on own or on public servers in a more private way. Or if you want to access data from mobile devices, there is a mobile app for Tableau available for iOS and Android. Well, if you want to do this, then you can get this mobile app, and this app allows you to access the data stored in Tableau Online or Tableau Server from mobile devices. Important, you can't access the data from Tableau Desktop. You need this step between, which uploads the data from Tableau Desktop to Tableau Online and Tableau Server. So that's it regarding the Tableau platform. As you see, you have more tools available here, but the core takeaway at this stage, again, is that if you're just getting started with Tableau, Tableau Desktop covers a lot of these areas and is the perfect point of entry to dive into the world of business intelligence or data analysis with Tableau. So Tableau Desktop is our tool of choice, but we have this difference between the paid and the public version. As I said, I will refer to both terms interchangeably here in the course. Here, I really refer to Tableau Desktop as the paid version and to Tableau Public as the public free version. The core differences between these tools, besides the price, can be categorized into the data storage capabilities, the data sources we can connect the tool to, and also the data connectivity. What do I mean by that? Data storage means that Tableau Desktop data is stored privately. This means you can store the data, for example, on your local machine. Therefore, only you can access the information. This is different in Tableau Public. We learned that already. I won't dive too deep into this now. Tableau Public only allows you to store the data in a way that I showed you in the last module. Therefore, anybody can access the information. Big difference. So if you want to use it at an enterprise level or with more sensitive data, Tableau Public, well, not the tool of choice to be honest. But as I said, to learn Tableau Public or Tableau Desktop, it's the perfect tool to get started. Data sources also differ between Tableau Desktop and Tableau Public. Tableau Desktop offers some enhanced data sources, whereas Tableau Public only gives you a limited amount of data sources available. If we go back to our starting project from the last module and click onto this Tableau symbol in the left upper part of the screen, an interface walkthrough will also be provided in the next module, so no worries, we'll have a closer look at the different functions here soon. So if you click right here, you see you have these different connection types. You have file connections and server connections, OData, and here Google Sheets and this web data connector. So as you can see, these are all the data sources we can connect Tableau Public to. If you go to the official Tableau website though, a link is provided attached to this lecture, and scroll down a bit, You see that Tableau Desktop actually features hundreds of data sources. You can also find data sources like the ones we can use with Tableau Public, for example, OData here, or if you go down a bit, you can see Microsoft Excel, but you have lots of other sources here, for example, AWS services like Amazon Athena. You can connect it to Dropbox, to Google Analytics, to Microsoft Azure, so lots and lots of connectors available. That's a big difference, and these connectors, or the majority of these connectors, is only available with the paid version of Tableau Desktop. But as I mentioned already throughout this course, the core interface, the core concepts and the core features and how we use the tool doesn't differ between Tableau Desktop and Tableau Public. So if you finish this course with Tableau Public, it will be very easy for you to connect Tableau Desktop to any data source of your choice. Nevertheless, I wanted to emphasize this difference right here. The last core difference here is the data connectivity. In Tableau Desktop, we can differ between a live and an extract connection to our source data. In Tableau Public, we can use the extract feature only. I'll also have a look at this difference in more detail in the next module. Just a very quick outlook here. A live connection simply means that you can retrieve the data directly from the data source whenever you update the information. An extract connection type means that you basically store a snapshot of the data in your source file in the Tableau internal memory. As I said, we'll dive deeper into this difference. It's important to keep in mind though that such live connections, in case you want these for some SQL databases, for example, these live connections are not available in the public version of Tableau. So besides the payment, these are the core differences. Two important notes though. There is a 40 days trial available for Tableau Desktop. A link to this trial can also be found attached to this lecture. So in case you want to have a look at Tableau Desktop after finishing this course, you can do this for 14 days for free. So it's quite a nice service. And I want to emphasize that once again, Tableau Public ships with the same core features as Tableau Desktop. These are differences, no doubt about that, but if you're just getting started, what you will learn here in this course can be applied to Tableau Desktop, so these differences will only have an impact if you want to dive a bit deeper, but for beginners, Tableau Public is the perfect starting point. This brings us to the last Tableau platform related topic, the updated Tableau versioning. Until the beginning of 2018, the Tableau versioning looked like that. We had Tableau 10.5, for example. These were the normal naming conventions for different updates. If you got a new update, you would have Tableau 10.6. If you would have a really big break-changing update, we would have had Tableau 11. Maybe. Tableau 11 never came though, because in January 2018, the Tableau versioning was updated. From now on, the versioning works as follows. We have the year, that's the first part of a Tableau version, so we would have Tableau 2019 dot in our case here, and then dot the number of the release in that year. This simply means that we refer to the third Tableau update in 2019 like this, Tableau 2019.3. The same thing applies, by the way, also for the number of the maintenance release of this version. So we have two different Tableau types in the end. We have release versions and maintenance versions. Now, what's the difference here? Well, a release version is basically the latest version with new features implemented. So if you want to have the latest Tableau versioning, you have to update to this version. But you have to be careful, of course, if this affects any of your current projects, especially in a bigger environment. If you're working on a company base, on a large scale base with Tableau, you have to make sure that you don't install any updates which add new features, which might crash your existing features. Just a side note here. A maintenance release is a bit different. Maintenance releases only add important security updates or bug fixes to your existing Tableau project. No new features are added here. This means if you don't want to update to the latest version of Tableau and you want to keep using your current version, this version will receive such maintenance updates for 30 months. And that's it with our dive into the Tableau world. I think you're now well prepared to dive into Tableau Desktop. And to make sure we don't dive too deep or we dive into the wrong direction, in the next lectures, I'll show you some important must-watches to make sure we apply the right settings, we can use the project files correctly, and that we also avoid a bug that occurs if we want to save the data in Tableau Public. One question that might come to your mind is, which saving bug am I referring to, because we saved the data in the last module already? That's true, but if you now go back to the project by clicking onto this Tableau symbol here, then you see that we have our data. This is totally fine. And if we want to save it, we can press right here, and we could save our workbook again, also give it a new name or overwrite the existing workbook, no problem at all. That's fine. But if I would remove all our fields, so simply select it and press remove down here, or select it and press delete on the keyboard, right here, right there, and right there. So we deleted all the fields from our Tableau worksheet here. And if I would then go to the data source tab, this will be the tab where we work in the entire next module. That's why I want to show you this right here. And if I would now like to save, this doesn't work. As you can see, the symbol is grayed out. I can also go right here to save, nothing is working. If I would go back to the worksheet and try the same thing, nothing is here. So to save any kind of progress you have in the next module, you simply have to select any of the fields we have right here, for example, this country field, and drag it, for example, to this columns area. Now you could press save. As you can see, it's no longer grayed out. And as you can see, you could now again overwrite the existing workbook or save a new one. This is one thing you have to keep in mind, but I refer to this lecture as there is a bug regarding the saving, specifically in Tableau Public, and this is not a bug, well, you can describe this as a feature, but if you would go back to the data source tab here, and now hit save, you see it's not grayed out at all, so you can click right here, then you see you get this error. You can't save the data here to Tableau Public, as the Tableau server you're publishing to requires extracts to be enabled. The problem is that we are actually working with extracts, as I said, more about it later. Therefore, we are experiencing a bug right here. That's a bug only, well, available, you could say, in Tableau Public. But if you go to the sheet, as I showed you, and press save right here, then this bug won't affect you. Therefore, you can easily save the data in Tableau Public. With that, you know how to save data. I'll also repeat this in the next module in case you're following along and you forgot this, but I wanted to make sure that you can refer to this lecture too in case you're not sure about how saving works and in case you're working on your own project, for example, and you might experience that problem. So this is how we can save projects. By the way, if you want to have the initial project back without any changes we applied here, you can simply go to File, Open from Tableau Public, select this workbook right here. It's important to be signed in. I showed you this in the last module. Press open. And with that, our workbook was loaded. So we can close this workbook here where we played around. No, we don't want to save the changes. And with that, we are back in the actual workbook that we created in the last module. So this is how saving and also loading a workbook generally works. In the next lecture, I want to show you how you can use the project files that I provide in several lectures throughout the course. Although we create the project together, throughout the course you might have situations where you are stuck, where you can't continue because your project is not working the way it is intended to do. Now, to make sure you can continue and to also give you kind of a comparison opportunity, so to compare your project with mine, you can find my project attached to different lectures of each module and attached to the last lecture of each module. How does this work? Right here we are in the third module of the course, for example. If you scroll through different lectures here, you can see we have this resources tab. This resources tab contains either the source file, in this case I add a hint to the lecture, or it contains my status of the course project. For example here, formatting columns, if you click onto this, you can find my course project. That's one way to find my course project. Another one is, as I said, if you go to the last lecture of the module, right here, and then click onto useful resources and links, right here, then you can find a quick description of how to use the attached project files, and you can find the resources for this lecture. These resources can include general source files right here or actual project files. So here you can find the files I attached to single lectures summarized in one single lecture. And if you click onto this file, for example, right here, the download starts and this file, as the name indicates, contains the finished project of this module. After the download finished, go to the folder where you saved your download. In there, you can find a zip file, which you then paste to a folder of your choice. As explained earlier, I recommend to use the Tableau repository here. In this case, I will use a different folder just for demonstration purposes. Then unzip the file, and then you have the project file. This is this TWBX file, this is the project file, and the corresponding source data used in this lecture or in this module. Then simply double-click onto this Tableau file. Here we have the field redirect to the visual. I explained that when we talked about how to save projects, don't worry about that. So for the worksheets, this will work without doing any kind of reconnection. But if you go to the data source tab now, you get an error because Tableau is asking, well, where is the data file codes country region.txt? That's the file we're missing here. In this case, navigate to the folder where you unzipped this file you just downloaded, and in this case, search for the codes country region text file. This is in the regions folder, this file right here, and press open. With that, we connected the first file. Now we have to connect the second file, region full names. Click onto here and press open. And with that, we are back in the data source tab. The problem is that here Tableau tries to combine the files. This is our actual source file, and this is a second connection it tries to establish. You can simply press X right here, click onto this arrow next to the file name, and press remove. With that, our regions file is working again. If we now change the data source up here from country and region data to population data, by the way, we will dive into all these steps in the third module of this course. So in case you're wondering what we're doing here, no worries. I will of course explain all that. This lecture is just here for reference. Keep that in mind. So we select population data now. Then we have the same problem. Now Tableau can't find the population female CSV file. Well, we again go to our folder, go to population, and here we can find this population female file. Press open like this. With that, we have the same problem as before. So we can press close right here, select the arrow next to the second connection, and press remove. And with that, we have our project back. The whole idea behind this process is that the source files are stored on my machine when I create the project, and Tableau stores these paths, well, to the folders on my machine. Obviously, these paths are not the same on your machine. Therefore, you simply have to tell Tableau where your source files are located, and this can be done exactly the way I showed it to you right here. So this is it. As I said, this lecture is only important in case you're stuck and in case you want to download my project files. So use this lecture as a future reference. We are almost ready to go now. There is only one last thing I would like to have a quick look at. For that, I'm back in our initial project from the last module. And what I want to talk about now are the recommended settings. There are not a lot of settings we have to take care of. I just want to make sure that the Tableau version you're working looks and feels the same as the one that I am working with. For that, let's go to the data source tab quickly. And I said that already in the last module. If you connect Tableau to any kind of data here and the data is not displayed the way it is displayed for me, make sure to click right here next to the source you are connecting Tableau to. And first, make sure that this option is selected. Field names are in first row because all files provided in this course will follow this convention. And very important, go to text file properties and make sure that, in this case for CSV files, the separators, text qualifiers, the character select, and the locale is set according to this default settings you can see right here. This might differ depending on the region you're living in or depending on the language you have set for your computer. Therefore, make sure to adjust this accordingly. Besides that, that's of course optional, but I just want to make sure that you can follow everything I'm referring to here. If you go to Help and choose Language, I recommend to use English United States right here because, well, this is what I'm using. So in case you're struggling with any kind of fields or any kind of function or feature, it might be easier to follow along. That's it for the Data Source tab. If we go to our worksheet now, we can also navigate to the File ribbon up here. Here we can go down to Workbook Locale, and this should be set to English United States. In my case, it's set to automatic because my locale, well, is set to English United States on my machine. But in case you have a different locale or in case you're not sure what your locale is, change this to English United States right here. And you can press yes. You won't have any problems. And with that, you can also make sure that you don't have any problems with any kind of formatting topic or generally the way your data is displayed. But that's it already. With these adjustments, we are now ready to go. And this means in the next module, it's time to dive into our course project, and we will get started with the data preparation in the data source tab right here.